Welcome back to Digesting Dark, where we are tackling the Netflix series Dark one episode at a time as we lead up to the debut of the third and final season on June 27th, 2020. For this episode, we rewatched episode number 6 that is titled Sic Mundus Creatus Est. If I pronounced that right. Cool. And we will be talking all about that and how that ties in with the entire Dark series as where we are at the end of season 2. My name is Zach Brooks. I am joined by I don't know, what are you today? I guess I'll just say the Martha to my Magnus. I can't think of a better one. Aaron Brooks, all that intro.
Hey.
Aaron, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Could I have picked a better? Do you think I could have picked a better comparison instead of Martha and Magnus? I was trying to think of siblings that were featured in this episode.
That works since they kind of end up at the end together.
Yeah, except we don't sleep in the same bed that I can remember.
Yeah.
They're very close.
Yeah.
Those two.
Very odd.
Yeah. So, of course, we were talking about Sic Mundus Creatus Est. Do we know what that actually means, what that phrase means?
I think it's Latin.
Yeah.
I assume.
They don't ever translate it, at least in this episode. They might. I know Sic Mundus obviously is Adam's cult, I guess, of time travelers that we meet in the second season.
Yeah, I think it's Latin for like the end is the beginning or the beginning is the end.
Oh, that would make sense because Cretus, I think, is like creation, I would imagine. And Est is probably is. So the end is the beginning. So maybe Sic Mundus all by itself just means the end. We'll have to pay attention to that. So, of course, we are going to go through this episode as we're going through our rewatch. We have already watched the first 5, now 6 episodes. We are barreling towards the second half of season 1, which I think we will probably wrap up by the end of this next week, and then we will have a little over 2 weeks to talk about season 2 and get ready for season 3 to come out.
Can't wait.
Yeah. This one is a little bit less complicated of an episode plot than the episode before it. It all takes place in the same time until the very end of the episode.
Yep.
I think we can probably try. We were talking yesterday about the best way to recap these. I think maybe we'll try just going through what we see in order. It'll probably help us keep our notes a little straight. And this one is a pretty straightforward one too.
Yeah, sounds good.
We open with Regina and a young version of Regina. I guess we do open in the 80s as well. We open with the 80s version of Regina tied up by the caves. We know she's tied up by Ulrich and Katerina. I thought it was interesting to open with Regina. It made me think we were going to get a lot more of the Tiedemann family than we did. I thought it was going to be like a really Tiedemann-centric episode, but we get more of them than we've gotten. But
that treatment overall is a pretty central part of the episode.
Yeah, that's true. The tree by the tree or the treatment?
The treatment.
Oh, the treatment
of her. Yes,
yeah.
The treatment of Regina.
That's
of her and
that's
why
true.
She was bullied.
Yeah, why she was bullied and how that ties into Katerina and Ulrich and the rape allegations and Hannah, and it kind of ties everybody together. So yeah, we definitely get the most Regina that we have gotten. Was this the first that we see that Regina is married to Alexander? Because we see them in bed as she wakes up from this nightmare. I believe this is, if you're watching for the first time, this would be your first clue that Alexander and her are married. I don't think we've seen them together before this.
They might have referred to him as Alexander Tiedemann.
That's true. So if you were really paying attention.
Yeah, but they didn't show them together before this now.
Yeah, okay.
Also, it makes you, if you're really, really paying attention, like realize he took her last name.
Yes.
Which doesn't really get addressed in this early, but still is definitely
we still don't really know why either. I mean, we know that we know that he takes on a new identity, but we don't know exactly what all he's hiding from. Probably that he's a time traveler, I would imagine. But we'll find out.
Well, we do find that out obviously when Hannah shows him the bag and everything.
We do. So what was his background?
That he used to be he was a soldier or whatever. His name was Boris Niewald.
Yeah, I knew it was Boris Niewald, and he had the gun in the bag. I just couldn't remember where, because he kind of appeared out of nowhere.
He appeared to be running from somewhere or from some time.
Yeah,
and then but knew to hide these things, and when he hid the bag with his old identity, and that Hannah took it and then held on to it for like 30 years until she was fully mad at Ulrich, and then used his blackmail later.
Right. I do remember that. I didn't remember where he was actually coming from. We know he's running.
Well, they haven't revealed that.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it's probably that he's going to have come from some other time. Maybe being chased by Sic Mundus. Maybe he is. Maybe he's Bartos. I don't know. I guess it probably wouldn't make sense. But I also think this is one of the first episodes I can remember of this season that we don't open with any kind of narration. Usually we have some sort of like, narration about time and the end being the beginning, and especially with the title Sic Mundus being in Latin, I would think that we would have gotten some commentary on the end is the beginning, and we just follow the red twine and we find our true fate, something like that.
Yeah. Nope, none of that.
Nope. All right, so then we see Charlotte leading the search, and they reveal Mikkel in the class photo. So we know Mikkel is going to stay there. This class photo is from 1987, so we know Mikkel is going to stay. He's in 1986 right now, so we know he's going to stay in the 80s. Obviously, we know that because he's going to eventually become Michael.
And it also says class 6B, so maybe a clue as to this being an alternate world.
Ooh, I like that. And 6, obviously multiple 3 too. I didn't think about the 6B being an alternate world. I just thought of it as like there's multiple classes. But yeah, that would make sense.
It's a pretty small town to have multiple classes with that huge of a class.
Yeah, it is a. It is that town is.
It may just be a slight clue as to this being an alternate world, all because I think the theory I have at this point is that the alternate world is the only world where Jonas can exist. In the actual world, Jonas doesn't exist, so that's
Jonas doesn't exist because Mikkel doesn't go to the past or doesn't stay in the past.
Exactly. Yeah, Jonas is the knot.
Yeah,
like in the middle,
and they need to sever the knot, as you
exactly.
Yep. And that term severing, we do have that come up later in this episode.
Yep.
Then we get a scene with Hannah and Jonas talking, and Jonas is asking Hannah about how she met his father, obviously because he in the last episode read the letter and realized that Mikkel was Michael. I thought this was weird because Hannah lies about how she met how she met Michael.
She said she met him at the hospital.
She said she met him in the hospital, and that he had a broken leg, which isn't true. She met him outside the hospital, but he didn't have a broken leg.
Well, he had the leg injury from the cave.
Oh,
he had an arm injury and the leg injury, and it was like outside that may be semantics.
Yeah,
I think it was in the hospital grounds, so it was like on a bench outside. She didn't say outside of the hospital.
Right,
she said
in the hospital. I didn't think about his leg injury. When she said broken leg, I'm thinking like big cast, but I guess maybe.
Well, he did have a cast on his leg too. If you go back,
he did. Okay.
Like he had a cast on his left leg and or right leg and a cast on his left arm.
So she was
also
being honest there.
Yeah, but a lot of the things I'm really noticing in the rewatch is the things that aren't said and the hesitations, the glances from people. Like Hannah stares at him and Jonas stares back at her for a second, and she's almost like, I know why he's asking this in some way, or like, and she's like a little bit guarded. And then she also says one of the only things she uses to describe Mikkel/Michael is that she never knew if he was serious or not. Which
interesting. Yeah, I didn't put that
like
down.
He never was really described as never really seemed like a joker. She also Jonas also asked what he was like before he got sick.
Yes.
Earlier he said he put an emphasis on that too.
I was also thinking when Hannah meets Mikkel the first time, this scene, from the episode before, he doesn't introduce himself as Michael. He introduces himself as Mikkel. And I was just thinking it's like
he's from the future.
Right. And she never puts it together that, I guess it would be, 30 years later that there was a kid named Mikkel that looks like the kid she met. It's just one of those things where it's like, to me, that's why, especially when I thought about her like lying about meeting him, that it just seemed very odd that she would not know who this kid was. But
yeah, I think she knew from the beginning. Like,
oh,
really do.
Like when she first met him, you think somehow she...
Yeah, the way she looks over, if you go back and watch the scene, the way she looks over at him from the car, it's like she's zeroing in on, and she like zeroes in on him. And it's all because of probably all roots back to an obsession with ruining Ulrich.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do agree with that.
So, like, I mean, I think that's what it was from the beginning.
Well, and maybe Hannah is the knot instead of Jonas being the knot.
Yeah.
To cut out.
I mean, maybe the Cornwalls as a whole.
Yeah.
Not.
Yep.
So.
All right. So then we see some of Ulrich, and he's investigating Mads's disappearance, just because he's thinking about the 33-year repeat and how this might tie in with Mikkel's disappearance. He plays the recording of Egon talking to Jana, asking about Mads and asking about Tronte. Then also in that family at the house, Magnus and Martha are talking about how they're trapped in the house and they want to leave, which I don't feel like they're really trapped. I mean, they've been going to school and they've been doing other things, but it leads to a big fight between Martha and Katerina.
Yeah, and also in the recordings, as Ulrich was listening to Jana, she lies about Tronte being home.
Oh, right. Yes, that is a good thing to point out. Yes. Which, of course, we find out later is that Tronte was with Claudia at the time of Mads's disappearance.
Well, that's what she says is the reason.
Yes. Is that not what happened?
I don't know if we see that or not, but I mean, that's the reason Jana says.
Right.
And
which is weird that she would know that she would know, like, I guess if he admitted to it, but.
Or if it's a cover story for something worse than cheating on your wife.
That's true.
And also, I had another point. Ulrich asked Regina if Regina knew that Regina's mother was sleeping with his father, and Regina was like, "Yeah, she knew." So that maybe is just to confirm it, but
yeah.
And then Jana talks to Ulrich about how Mads and Ulrich used to fight one minute and then be friends and laughing the next minute, points out the wound on his chin from hitting the glass table, which, is later used to confirm that body.
Right. I thought that was I forgot that was how they confirmed that was the body, but I like
that. And the whole time she was talking, he was holding one of the figures that is usually one of the figures on
his grave.
Mads's. Yeah. So those figures are still focused on.
Yeah, I guess the Mads reveal, we just kind of jumped into the episode, but the Mads reveal, if you're watching for the first time, that's probably a really big reveal. I don't think you would have put it together that was Mads until this episode. So, to us, it's just like, oh, of course that's Mads. It's no big deal. It doesn't feel like that big of a real reveal, but for people who are watching for the first time, I guess that is a pretty big reveal. And it makes sense, too, because you're like, oh, that sweatshirt is the same one in the picture, and he's got the Walkman and the 80s music. I mean, you knew there was something weird about this kid. And, of course, we know that there's time travel involved. Ulrich, who knows what he thinks? I mean, he's just, like, very confused why his brother's body turned up 30 years later.
Yeah, and Mads was last seen with Regina, so another tough luck for a Tiedemann. So yes. Regina, again, there's just all these different reasons in Ulrich's head why he hates Regina. And the Tiedemanns as a whole, just like there's all these different reasons in the Tiedemanns' head why they hate Ulrich.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, yeah, that's because Egon hates Ulrich and Ulrich hates Regina. Yeah, there is it's like Romeo and Juliet, like Montagues and Capulets, when you think about Martha and Bartos being together as well.
Yep, and then Claudia and Tronte really don't hate each other, apparently.
Yeah, so Claudia and Tronte is like the reverse version of Martha and Bartos.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing about Regina, and I know we're kind of skipping around a little bit, but the thing about the young Regina and that she was the last one to see Mads is that when she says that Mads walked her home because he knew she was afraid to walk home by herself. And I never really picked up on that was what happened when he disappeared. I thought it had to do with her being tied up, but the her being tied up thing that we see at the beginning of the episode is actually, was before the night that Mads disappeared. That's what made her afraid. And then Mads offered to walk her back through the forest. And as he was returning from walking her back, that's when he disappeared.
Yep. And then, Mads was she framed Mads as the only person in the town who never said anything bad about anybody.
Right.
And was really, really good and didn't deserve it. And we've seen over and over again kind of the theme of them saying the best people sometimes have the worst fates. So.
And no future, no fate, all that kind of stuff is I think also just going back to the scene where we were talking about with Martha and Magnus, was Magnus wearing a no future jacket?
No, it was like a starter jacket, I think.
Okay.
It looked like a starter jacket.
It looked like there was something written on the back of his jacket, and I couldn't tell what it said.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
maybe
he had a backpack on, so I couldn't tell, and he never took the backpack off. So I just thought it was interesting if he ends up wearing the same message as his father wears, the no future, or something different. If he wears, no past, maybe, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, so let's keep moving on. So we do get Regina gets her letter that confirms that she has cancer, and once again another letter that is delivering a piece of information to a character on the show that is very startling and very upsetting to them. Just like Jonas getting the letter that his father is Mikkel, Regina gets the letter that she doesn't have a future because she has breast cancer. And then we follow, just as the scenes go, we follow Jonas. He's looking at the letter, so we do kind of actually like get that reinforced. We see Regina reading the letter, and then immediately we cut to a scene of Jonas reading the letter from the last episode. And then he looks at the map and he sees what the stranger had written. It says follow the signal in red ink on his map, which is his clue to like where he needs to go through the tunnels under the caves. Which, it's interesting. That's another one of those cycles, right? Like if future Jonas had never written follow the signal, then past Jonas never would have traveled in time, and future Jonas never would have been able to write that in the first place. So there's no like on ramp. It's just a loop, another one of those time loops.
Yeah, and maybe what the stranger / future Jonas is dealing with kind of his whole life is finding a way to justify his own existence. And these are the things he has to do to make sure that he still exists. And that's why it's just like so like against nature, and just like it's so like he has to literally like put a string to lead him along because it has to go that way. Otherwise he won't. And then
because he's just a total idiot. He can't figure it out himself. He needs like his handheld the entire way through.
Yeah, I don't know. But like, and then Adam realizes by the end that maybe the only way to really solve this is erasing his own existence. So like it took him 66 years to come to that like realization and like going through that, whatever causes him to look like he looks as Adam. And then the end of the show is the beginning. So the end is the beginning. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how they're going to end this in 8 episodes. I really can't.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be more complicated than that, than just like Jonas has to erase his own existence. But I think that could be the key. It does seem like, Adam being that name, obviously there's a biblical connotation to Adam where Adam is the first man. So it would make sense that there is something there.
Yeah.
So, all right. So then we get a really interesting scene, which we mentioned earlier. It's when Ulrich goes to his parents' house and he meets with his father, Trante, and he's asking him where he was the night Mads disappeared. Ulrich apparently really remembers that Trante was not there the night that his brother disappeared. He has very vivid memory of that. He remembers his mother looking at the clock. And then his mother comes in and she's the one who talks about how Trante was actually having an affair when Mads disappeared with Claudia. And we get the reveal that Regina was the last one to see Mads.
Yeah.
So, all right, so I think we can skip that. There's nothing really to talk about with Magnus opening the lockbox. Well, I guess there is, because he finds that necklace on the ground in the forest. Whose necklace is that? Do we know?
Yep.
Okay. It hasn't been revealed earlier, though.
I think he thinks it's Francesca's.
Yeah, okay. That's what I figured, because we don't see her at all in this episode. Yeah, we haven't seen her in multiple episodes now. Her or Elizabeth.
No, but I think she's wearing in the first episode.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that would make sense, because that's where she
Dopplers love their birds.
Oh, it is a bird. You're right. Okay. Yeah, that would make sense. And we keep getting cuts to Jonas going into the caves. Takes the whole episode for him to get through the caves, but Bartos and Martha also meet, and this is in the school. Once again, we get characters kissing in the school, and Bartos is just trying to reconnect with Martha. She's been ignoring his calls, and she's just trying to get ready for the play.
Red lipstick, red loop around her.
Yep. White dress and
white dress.
Yes.
So
and Bartos is just trying to repair things, and she's very cold towards him. So Then back at the Nielsen house, Katerina is looking at she has been hanging up posters all day. She returns home and she looks at a phone bill, which I guess you could say is like another form of a letter. And she sees a number that appears a ton of times on the phone bill. I feel like this is one of those things that's like, of course your number is going to appear a ton of times. And maybe Hannah doesn't really care that her number appears so many times. And she calls that number. It's Hannah, of course. And, we said in the last episode, we thought that she was pretty sure it was Hannah. Now it's basically confirmed that Hannah is the one who's been sleeping with her husband.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then we move on to Ulrich and Regina at the hotel. This is the scene that we talked about earlier. She talks about how Mads was always really nice and that it should have been Ulrich who disappeared. Maybe that ties into this like alternate, should have been type thing.
Yeah. And then like right away, like once Ulrich realizes Regina didn't lie, Regina's like, obviously it was Hannah who was in love with you since she was 14 years old and would do anything for you.
Yes.
Like, everybody seemed to know but Ulrich. Like, obviously.
Yeah. Ulrich never wanted to see the truth that it was Hannah that was the one who accused him of rape. He always thought it was Regina. I think we will get more of that in an upcoming episode of him thinking that Regina is the one who ratted him out to the police. Finally, after 30 years, it is put together that it was Hannah, and she reveals it to him.
Yep, and and then he goes and checks the evidence box to just confirm it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and when he sees it in there, it's confirmed. And before that, we get Kat listening to the radio station. You mentioned in the last episode that you thought this guy on the radio was kind of just like an important radio narrator. So the phone number I thought was interesting. It was I think it was like 1-800 or 18 something, and then 6482-6482. I don't know. I don't know if those numbers have any significance. I was trying to think about if they might. Of course, if you add 6 and 4 and you add 8 and 2, that's 10. So they're both they both can be added up to 10. 64 is also 8 squared, and 8 is an infinity symbol. I don't know. There's probably nothing, but it's just whenever there's numbers in this show, I always write them down just in case there's anything significant about them.
Wasn't even looking at it.
That time, I don't know. This is what Lost trained me to do. Anytime there's numbers, I'm just like, my ears perk up. But her, she gives this very long monologue on the radio, which I thought was weird because, like, I guess people know that her son disappeared, but they also know who her husband is. But Katerina is just talking about how the city is sick and that they're part of this sickness within the city, and they just like really bashing Winden overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody who lives in Winden seems to hate Winden.
Yeah,
because Francesca talks about wanting to get out of there. Ulrich brings it up all the time. Katerina calls it a festering wound. I think a few other people call it that.
Yeah.
So
I think Ulrich has some festering wounds on his face. You might want to get looked at. It's like looking really rough.
And then there's the wound on Alexander's back.
Oh, true. We do have a lot of wounds. We have the wound over Mads' eyes as well from the time machine. And in this time, as we're getting this monologue about the city, Alexander finds the letter. I thought this was a little tedious. Like, we didn't need him. We saw him find the letter. You would think that he, from looking at the letter, could tell what it means. But then Alexander calls the cancer center, and they just tell him the information. He's just like, yeah, we're getting some results. And they don't like confirm who it is. They just like tell her husband. Mm-hmm. I guess the medical secrecy laws are probably different in Germany than they are in the United States, but I thought it was, I don't know, it was just weird. I was like, why did he need to call?
I think it was just clunky.
Yeah. I just don't know why he needed to call. Why couldn't he just he gets the letter. Everybody knows what the letter says. I don't know. Maybe they just wanted to really reinforce it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. So I think it was just a little clunky.
Mm-hmm. And I think all of this is still going on as Katerina is ranting about the city, because we do have the play going on as well at the same time. But, we're also, before we get to the play, we're seeing Jonas. He's getting into the cave. He finds that red string that you mentioned. And the red string is what leads him through those tunnels. So that red string you think was put there by the stranger? You don't think that's always been there?
Yeah, I think that's what I would assume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, that would make sense. I always thought it was just
or maybe
there, but...
or maybe someone else put it there that really wants Jonas to. Someone put it there that wants Jonas to exist.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the red thread was the thing that Jonas found that was on his bike. So I guess that's part of that red string. Probably when they tied the red string there, they put that there just to like remind him.
Yeah.
So, and Ulrich goes to Hannah's, and he's confronting her. And he mentions, he brings up her husband and says, no wonder your husband killed himself. How could he live with you? And there's just like some interesting, dramatic irony here that we know that her husband is his son. He does not know that, though. He does not know that's who he's talking about.
Yeah.
So, all right. So then we have this play, and I thought the play was, very loaded. Everything going on in the play. I'm curious if you felt that way too.
Yeah, I don't know. I think overall what the play is doing is similar to like in Midsommar, like what the artwork before a lot of the scenes did, where it would kind of show you what is about to happen with the characters, but just like in a more symbolic kind of way. I think it's just overall like symbolically what the show's about. Mm-hmm. That's what I took it as.
Yeah, there's just such poignant lines in it. Like, you've been deceived by beauty. You've let yourself be deceived by beauty. They talk about, he's half man, half beast, that he's your brother. I don't know. And then, at the end of the play, I think we can just go through the whole play instead of jumping around to other things. At the end of the play, she says, I stand before you. I am no king's daughter. I am no man's wife. I am no brother's sister. I am a loose end in time. And those above us have long forgotten. Alone in my death, my only judge is me. And she falls to her knees. And of course, Martha is going to die at the end of season 2. And she's not a
version of her.
Yes, yes. The version from this timeline, I'm assuming, is the one who's going to die in season 2. And then the only judge is me. Well, who comes back right after she dies is the whatever alternate version of Martha.
Yeah.
So, you're probably right. It probably all is just symbolic. It just seemed like it was like they spent so much time on this play, and it was, so much of a focus of the episode that I thought it was interesting. Also, during this time, we see Ulrich sitting in Mikkel's room. And did you notice this, that the window behind him, instead of being an actual scene, it was like a painted picture behind him?
I didn't notice, no.
Yeah, so I thought it was really weird. I went back and paused it, and I don't understand why. I don't know if it has any significance at all, but like it looked like the backdrop behind Martha, basically, like how she had like a set from a play. That's what Ulrich had behind his windows. So I don't know. Maybe
he just had like an interior room, and they wanted him to feel like he had a window.
Oh, I guess that could be. Yeah, because it's just like it was like colorful paintings. It was just so strange. But it definitely was a window. It's not like a poster or a picture on the wall.
Yeah. I'll have to go check it out. I didn't notice it.
Yeah. I can't think of anything that it would tie to. It was just very odd to me. All right. And so also during this time, just backing up a little bit, we see Peter and Trante. They are in the bunker, and they say it is 19 minutes to 9:17. So it's kind of a weird way to phrase that also. Again, that's numbers. And I don't know why you wouldn't just say it's 8:50 or whatever, 8:59, 8:58 instead of 19 minutes to 9:17.
That's very specific.
Yeah, they're waiting for something. They have a book with times written in it. It looks like the Sic Mundus logo on the front of the book. They have times, and the 9:17 is highlighted. So they're waiting on somebody. I think is it Eric that shows up at the beginning of the next episode? Is that what they find? Is that who arrives in the bunker? Eric's body.
I think. Well, no, because Eric and Yasin are found together.
Oh, that's right. Okay. But they're waiting on somebody to come through that time point.
Yeah. Is it Mads?
No, because Mads already arrived.
Already there.
Yeah. Because they are the ones who found Mads, but they're like, there's multiple times written down in this book, so they're waiting for somebody else to arrive.
Yeah, I don't remember, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe it might be that it's Eric and Yasin coming together. We'll find out in the next episode. Very soon, we'll find that out.
Yeah.
And then oh, and also in the play, another line that I wrote down that I just realized that I skipped over. So Martha and whoever she's in love with in the play are talking about their love for each other, and they have a red thread. And he says, "This red thread, promise me you will not sever it." And you brought up the term "sever" yesterday, I think, in the last podcast that we did.
Yeah.
So,
and then she looks right at Jonas.
Well, Jonas, because Jonas isn't there.
Oh,
Or was that in the last one? You mean in the one before?
The last one, I'm saying.
Yeah. So maybe it was the same line. That's because I was like, I remembered you bringing up sever. I couldn't remember why. But that word stuck out to me.
Yeah, and her dress switches to black at one point.
Yeah, she takes off the white dress, and it's a black dress on under it. So, all right, and so then, I think now we can probably talk about. Well, let's hold on Jonas until the end. So let's talk about Regina and Kat. So Kat goes and consoles Martha on stage because she's so upset delivering this monologue, which I thought maybe it was just good acting, but she really was upset. And so they're leaving, and Regina sees Kat, and they get into a literal cat fight right in the hallway of the school. Years of Regina feeling bullied by Katerina finally explodes, and the kids just kind of watch until Magnus runs in and he takes his mom out of that situation. But Martha just kind of watches it. Must be awkward that you're dating Bartos and your parents hate each other.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know how much she's really dating Bartos at this point.
That's true. She was dating Bartos for whatever reason. And then we get, we have Ulrich. He's looking at the photos. He realizes the sweatshirt, and that's kind of what clues him to go look at the body once again and realize that that's Mads. And then, before we talk about Jonas, we'll just wrap up with Martha and Magnus. We talked about it. They have a scene in their bedroom, or Magnus's bedroom. Martha goes in and asks if she can sleep there, and says, talks about very on the nose. She says, "We don't really know our parents. We don't know them as teenagers or children," which is, what this show is all about, basically. They don't know. They don't know that. And then we get a strong focus on that necklace that Magnus found. So, and then Ulrich finds the body. He realizes it's Mads, and that's how the episode ends. But now we're going to back up a little bit. We're doing this in the weird order because now we can talk about Jonas. All of these scenes of Jonas walking through the caves, following the thread. It's very claustrophobic in there. It made me very nervous just watching that.
Yeah, it's definitely a tight space.
Yeah. They do a very good job making it look like, I don't know. I was thinking if I was crawling through those, I would have just been you can't even turn around. If you want to back up, you literally can't turn your body. You have to go forward. So, and I always, watching this show before, I always thought of it as a straight line, right? He's going through the tunnels and they're going, from point A to point B. But this time when I watched it, I thought more that they're almost like a circle, right? And maybe that's what it always has been, and I just never put it together. But Jonas goes through the Sic Mundus door, and then he crawls through the tunnel, and then he reaches the Sic Mundus door again. And and when he goes through that, he chooses, he has to go right or left at the tunnel. He chooses to go right. I believe we'll see Ulrich go left at the tunnel in a few episodes, and that's why he ends up in the 50s. But he goes through that door, and it's basically he's made a circle, except the circle that he's made has led him to the 1980s.
Interesting. Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like are there multiple Sic Mundus doors, or just one Sic Mundus door, but you go through this portal and you start right where you end right where you started.
I imagine it looks a lot like the logo. The three.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense. Well, especially with the 3 points, if you can go right or left at that fork as well.
Yeah, that's why I imagine it looks like.
That makes sense. And I really like how they reveal this at the end of the episode with Jonas. He goes to that bus stop that, we've always talked about how that's a very significant bus stop. And he sees the signs. The viewer, if you're watching this the first time, you don't really realize where he is. You think he just went into the cave and went out of the cave. But of course, we know he's in the 80s, and he looks at the signs, and instead of saying that Mikkel is missing, he sees that Mads is missing. And Hannah and her father pull up and offer him a ride. Very nice of them to offer this random weirdo a ride.
Yeah.
So, And he puts it together that it's Hannah, that it's his mother, a child version of his mother. She mentions acid rain and Chernobyl, and he declines their offer to go somewhere else, to go try to find his. I believe the next episode is where he sees his father / Mikkel and decides not to bring him back.
Yeah, after the stranger intervenes.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yep. So that is where we end. Well, we end with Mads, the reveal of Mads. But there's lots of good reveals for the first-time watchers on this. Was there anything else like significant that we have that I didn't bring up?
No, I think we pretty much covered it.
Yeah, this one is a lot more straightforward of an episode, a lot more of a setup episode. But if you're watching for the first time, which hopefully you're not listening to this podcast, if you are, you would be getting quite a few reveals going on in this. So, I wonder what play that was. Was that? You don't have any idea what play?
No idea.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sure there's a way to find out, though. I think it's a real play.
Yeah, I would imagine it is. It's a very depressing play for a high school musical or high school. I guess not high school musical, but high school performance.
Mm-hmm.
So,
not a whole lot of people in the cast either.
In that play, no, it just seems like it's Martha and the guy. The guy has like a black makeup on his eyes too, which reminded me of the burnt out, the burnt out eyes from the time traveling kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's just interesting. You like never see any Wyndon, but there is an audience for this play, and at the police station, there's the police station seems to have a good amount of people on staff. Because Charlotte tells them all they're going to be on double staff, and you see a bunch of people you've never seen before and never see again. So it's funny. There's only like a few times in this show when they ever show a lot of people. Like one of the first episodes when when Eric goes missing, they show a bunch of people complaining outside the police station. Like, and there's only a few other times that they show, right? Maybe they just didn't want to spend money on extras.
Yeah, it might be that. Or maybe it's that there's enough people that they can have two sixth grade classes. They can have a sixth grade A and sixth grade B. Yeah, but I like your observation more. So
yeah, it just seemed I didn't see a class A on the wall. I only saw a 6B, which just I think may just be a very slight low like nod if you're a show that's not sure if you're going to get a second season of like we'll wink to the second world, but we won't introduce it in case it's a one season show. Maybe something like that. I don't know. Because they seem to be much more confident in season 2 that they're getting a third season, which is why I think season 2 is a lot crazier. Not necessarily better, but I think crazier.
Yeah, I'd be curious what they were going to do if there wasn't a second season.
This show would have been fine as a one season show.
Yeah,
everybody would have wanted more.
Right, it would have been a million questions.
Yeah, definitely. But it also, it does in a way wrap up the 10 episodes if it were itself. But anyways,
luckily we got a second season. So, all right. Well, the next episode that we're going to be talking about tomorrow is called Crossroads. So, play some Bone Thugs and Harmony. See you at the crossroads, I guess.
Yep.
Why does Jonas need that stupid flashlight?
It just looks cool.
Yeah. Okay. It does look cool, but it's like he would have been fine with a regular flashlight.
I'm sure flashlights look different from 30 years now.
That's true. Yeah, it's a futuristic flashlight. Actually, as I'm saying that, maybe it is because when somebody travels through time, the lights flicker, and maybe that flashlight is immune to that flickering. Because I don't think we saw his like bulb flickering at all, but every other light in the city flickers when he travels through time.
Yeah, that could be.
So, yeah, it's a nice it's his immune flashlight. So
yeah.
All right. Well, that is everything that we have from Sic Mundus Creatus Est. And tomorrow, or sometime in the next couple days, we will be back with Crossroads, episode 7 of season 1, as we barrel towards the end of the first season. If you've not yet subscribed to Digesting Dark, you can do that on Spotify, on Google Play, and hopefully someday on Apple Podcasts. Of course, you can get us just on Anchor. If you Anchor.fm if you want to listen on your web browser, or I think they have an app as well. So, and we'd love to hear from people who are following along. get some feedback if you have any questions, things that we didn't pick up on. If you know what Sic Mundus Creatus Est means and we had the wrong translation, let us know. Any kind of feedback. You can tweet us at I am at Brooks ZA.
And I'm at Aaron Jay Brooks.
Yes. And we will be back soon. Anything else that you wanna mention, or you want to just let everybody go to the crossroads?
No, I think I don't mind these smaller episodes. They're easier to take notes on, at least a little bit. And
how many pages of notes did you have on this one?
Only 2. So, yeah, but still a good episode. I continue to kind of notice these characters I hadn't before, like Jana and Trante, and what a big role they really play. So I don't think I really even knew Jana's name until this watch around. And now I kind of do notice, like, you know, she's on medication. She's lying for some reason. Like, there's some more going on with her. So,
well, she's another J name. So we only have Jonas and Jana, and those are actually similar names. So,
yeah.
It'll be interesting.
Good episode.
I'm curious to see more of Trante, because I'm also interested in watching him. And I guess, you know, the reason why I didn't think Elizabeth was that big of a character in this show is because she's barely in the first season. I mean, we're at episode 6, and we've seen her for like 5 total minutes of screen time. So
yeah, the Dopplers overall are kind of sparse besides Charlotte.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we will be back with Crossroads. I can't remember what happens to that episode, but I'm excited to find out. And we will catch you next time. Thank you for listening.
All right. See ya.